I never believed in ghost stories. But that night at the gas station changed everything. I was working the night shift at an old highway gas station miles away from the city. After midnight, the road usually went silent. No cars, no headlights, just darkness stretching endlessly beyond the pumps. It was 1:07 a.m. when I saw her. I was watching the CCTV monitors behind the counter, fighting sleep, when movement caught my eye. On camera 3, pump number 3, a woman was standing there. The strange part? There was no car. She wore a long white dress that moved slightly in the wind. Her head was tilted downward, her dark hair covering her face. She wasn't moving, just standing there. I frowned and looked outside through the glass windows. The lot was empty, completely empty. My stomach tightened. I looked back at the monitor. She was still there. Trying to convince myself it was just a camera glitch, I grabbed a flashlight and stepped outside. The cold air hit my face instantly. The station lights flickered softly above me. I walked toward pump number 3. Nothing. No woman. No footprints. No sound except the wind. I hurried back inside and stared at the monitor again. She was there, standing in the exact same position. Then suddenly, the screen glitched. Static flashed across it, and she was gone. At that exact moment, the automatic front doors of the store slid open on their own. No one was there. That was when I realized something wasn't right, and my shift was far from over. By 2 a.m., I was wide awake. I kept telling myself it was faulty wiring, old cameras, a tired imagination. To calm my nerves, I turned on the small radio behind the counter. Static filled the air before a weak signal came through. Then I heard it. Pump number 3. My blood ran cold. It wasn't part of any broadcast. The voice sounded distant, distorted. I quickly turned the radio off. Silence. A few seconds later, the same voice echoed through the store speakers. Help me. The lights dimmed slightly. The glass doors of the freezer fogged up as if the temperature had suddenly dropped. I slowly turned toward the CCTV monitors. Pump number 3 was no longer empty. A car now sat there, old, rusted, its headlights cracked. I hadn't heard it arrive. The driver's door creaked open on the screen. The woman stepped out. This time, her face was visible, or at least where her face should have been. There was only darkness, a hollow shadow where her features should exist. She slowly lifted her hand toward the camera. The screen cracked with static again. At that same second, something slammed inside the store. I spun around. One of the freezer doors had shut violently on its own. That's when I understood something terrifying. She wasn't just on the cameras anymore. She was inside. I locked the front doors immediately. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the keys. Without warning, the lights went out. Total darkness swallowed the store. A red emergency light flickered on near the ceiling, bathing everything in a dim crimson glow. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Slow. Dragging. Coming from the snack aisle. I crouched behind the counter, holding my flashlight but too afraid to turn it on. The footsteps stopped. Then I heard whispering. Why did you leave me? The words felt cold against my skin. And then I remembered. A few years ago, there had been an accident at this station. A woman crashed her car near pump number 3 late at night. Some said she was still alive for hours, calling for help. But no one came. The footsteps were now right in front of the counter. My flashlight suddenly switched on by itself. She was standing there, closer than I expected. Her face was burned and twisted, blackened like charred metal. Her eyes were completely dark. She tilted her head slowly. You didn't help me. I tried to move, but my legs wouldn't respond. The temperature dropped even further. Her hand reached toward me, ice cold, and then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was outside, standing at pump number 3. Morning light was breaking over the horizon. Police cars surrounded the station. Yellow tape fluttered in the wind. People were staring at me. An officer approached slowly, confusion written across his face. He's standing in the exact same spot, he muttered to another officer. I looked down. There were burn marks on the concrete beneath my feet. I turned toward the store. Through the glass window, I saw her, standing inside, watching me. But this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her stood another shadow. My shadow. I tried to move, but I couldn't feel my body. That's when I realized something horrifying. The police weren't looking at me. They were looking at something lying on the ground near the entrance. A body. My body. The gas station was permanently closed after that night. Locals say it's cursed. And sometimes, late at night, drivers claim they see someone standing at pump number 3. No car. Just a figure waiting. If you ever stop at a lonely gas station after midnight, and pump number 3 looks empty, make sure it really is. The gas station wasn't supposed to be busy at 3:17 a.m. It sat alone off exit 9, surrounded by nothing but forest and an endless stretch of highway. I had only been working there for 2 weeks, covering the night shift while the regular guy recovered from surgery. That night was unusually quiet. No cars, no trucks, no distant headlights, just silence. I was restocking candy bars when I heard the bell above the door ring. I looked up. A tall man stood inside the store. I hadn't heard a car pull in. He was pale. Not sick pale, unnatural pale. His clothes looked outdated, like something from the late 1980s. Denim jacket, oil-stained jeans, work boots. Evening, I said, forcing a polite smile. He didn't respond. He just stared at me. Then he asked, in a low voice, "Do you still sell regular?" I blinked. "Regular what?" "Gas," he said slowly. "Yeah," I answered. "Pump 4 is open." He nodded once and walked out. I stepped toward the window to watch him. The parking lot was empty. No car. No headlights. No engine sound. But pump 4 suddenly activated on its own. The numbers began rising. $3, $7.50, $12. Like someone was filling a tank. My heart began to race. The pump stopped at exactly $19.87. The store doorbell rang again. I turned. The man was back inside. He placed a $20 bill on the counter. It looked old, worn, damp. "Keep the change," he said. His hand brushed mine. Ice cold. Then he walked out again. I ran to the window. The lot was empty, but in the reflection of the glass, he was still standing behind me. I spun around. The store was empty. Completely empty. My breathing became shallow as I stared at the counter. The $20 bill was still there. Shaking, I picked it up. It was dated 1987. That didn't make sense. Money that old shouldn't look like it had just come out of circulation. I forced myself to check the register history. The transaction showed up. Pump 4, $19.87. Timestamp, 3:17 a.m. But the date on the screen wasn't today's date. It read October 14th, 1987. Exactly 39 years ago. My stomach dropped. I checked the wall behind the counter where old newspaper clippings were pinned up, stories about the town's history. One headline caught my attention. "Local man killed in gas station shooting, 1987. The black and white photo beneath it froze my blood. It was him. The same denim jacket. The same hollow stare. The article said he had stopped for gas late at night. An argument broke out inside the store. The clerk panicked. A gun was fired. The man died at pump 4. The killer was never caught. My hands trembled. The bell above the door rang again. Slowly. I didn't want to look, but I did. He was standing there. This time, his chest was dark, wet, a spreading stain soaking through his jacket. He didn't speak. He just stared at me. And then he said something that made my blood run cold. "You're in my spot." The lights flickered violently. Every screen in the store went black except one. Camera 4. Pump 4. On the monitor, I saw something impossible. The gas station, but older. The paint was faded. The sign looked different. And inside the store, behind the counter, was me. No, not me. The clerk from 1987. He looked terrified. The tall man stood in front of him, arguing. There was no sound, but I could read their body language. Anger. Fear. The clerk reached under the counter, pulled out something. A gun. I stepped back from the monitor. "I didn't do this," I whispered. The ghost slowly walked toward me. "You will." Suddenly the store around me began to change. The shelves looked older. The candy brands different. The walls stained yellow. I looked down. The uniform I was wearing was gone. I was wearing a name tag that wasn't mine. Daniel. I don't know anyone named Daniel. The ghost stood at the counter now. Alive. Human. Arguing. just like in the footage. No, I said, backing away. But my hand moved on its own, reaching under the counter, grabbing something cold. Metal. The gun. I tried to fight it. I tried to scream. But my body wasn't listening to me anymore. The ghost leaned forward and smiled. History has to happen. The gun went off. The sound was deafening. Everything went silent afterward. The store snapped back to normal. Modern shelves. Modern lights. Modern signs. The ghost was gone. I looked down. There was no body. No blood. No bullet hole. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a news alert. Local gas station clerk found dead, apparent suicide. My name was in the headline. Time of death, 3:17 a.m. I dropped the phone. I ran outside. Police cars were pulling into the lot. But they didn't look at me. They ran past me, through me, inside the store. An officer shouted, "He's behind the counter." I turned toward the window and saw it. My body, lying exactly where the 1987 clerk had died. Behind the counter. At 3:17 a.m. Pump 4 activated again. The numbers began rising. $3, $7.50, $12. I looked down at myself. My clothes felt older, heavier, oil-stained. A car pulled into the lot, headlights cutting through the darkness. A nervous young clerk stepped out of it. I felt myself walking toward the store door. Against my will. The bell rang as I entered. "Evening," he said. I looked at him and asked the same question. "Do you still sell regular?" The gas station on Route 66 wasn't on most maps anymore. It stood alone between two abandoned towns, its neon sign flickering weakly in the dark. I had taken the night shift because it paid extra, and honestly, I needed the money. Most nights were quiet. A few truckers, maybe a lost traveler. But that night, something fell off from the beginning. At exactly 2:43 a.m., every pump outside activated at once. All 6 of them. The digital numbers started climbing as if invisible cars were filling invisible tanks. $5, $11.20, $23.45. I rushed to the window. The parking lot was completely empty. No headlights. No engines. No sound. The pumps kept running. I ran to the breaker panel to shut them off manually. The switches wouldn't move. Then, one by one, the pumps stopped. All 6 displays showed the same total. $66.60. A chill crept up my spine. The bell above the store door jingled softly. I turned around slowly. No one was there. But the door was wide open. Cold air drifted in from outside. And then I heard footsteps. Not from outside. From behind the store. There was only one room back there, the storage room. No customers were allowed back there. The footsteps were slow, heavy, deliberate. I grabbed the baseball bat we kept under the counter and walked toward the back hallway. The storage room door was closed, but the light underneath it was on. I was sure I had turned it off earlier. The handle began to turn slowly. From the inside, the door creaked open, but the storage room was empty. Boxes stacked neatly, cleaning supplies untouched. No signs of movement. I stepped inside carefully. The air felt thick, heavy, like the room had been sealed for years. Then I noticed something strange on the wall. Scratches, deep claw marks running vertically down the concrete, and written between them, in something dark and dried. "IT opens at 3. My watch read 2:57 a.m. I backed out of the room immediately. As I stepped into the main store area, my heart nearly stopped. The shelves were different. Older, dustier. The product brands looked outdated. The security camera above the register wasn't the new digital one anymore. It was an old, bulky model from the early 2000s. I ran to the counter and checked the calendar hanging on the wall. October 12th, 2003. That wasn't possible. I pulled out my phone. No signal. The time read 2:59 a.m. The lights flickered. The bell above the door rang again. A man walked in. He looked panicked, sweating, glancing behind him. "Please," he said breathlessly, "lock the doors." "What's going on?" I asked. "It comes at 3. Before I could respond, the digital clock above the soda machine changed. 3 a.m. The lights went out, and something massive hit the front doors from the outside. The glass doors shook violently. Something was slamming into them. Over and over. The man grabbed my arm. "Don't let it see you," he whispered. Through the darkness, I could see a shape outside. Tall. Too tall. Its head nearly reached the top of the station sign. Its arms were long and bent unnaturally, dragging against the pavement. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dark. It wasn't trying to get in. It was waiting. The man crouched behind the counter. "It only comes to places that are open," he said. "Gas stations. Diner stops. Anywhere with lights." "What is it?" I whispered. "It takes the night shift." My stomach twisted. The creature's head snapped toward the window. Slowly, as if it had heard that. The glass began to frost over from the outside. Then, suddenly, silence. The creature vanished. The man stood up carefully. "It chose," he said. "Chose what?" Before he could answer, the back storage room door slammed shut. Heavy footsteps echoed from inside it. Slow, dragging, coming closer. The man looked at me with pure fear in his eyes. It didn't choose me. The storage door burst open, and something rushed toward us. Fast, too fast to see clearly. The man screamed. The lights flickered back on, and he was gone. No blood, no sound, just empty air where he had been standing. I was alone. The store looked normal again. Modern shelves, digital cameras. Today's date on the calendar. My phone buzzed. 3:07 a.m. 7 minutes past 3. The front doors were intact. No cracks. No frost. I ran outside. The highway was silent. But something was different. There were now only 5 pumps. Pump number 3 was gone. Completely removed. Like it had never existed. I stared at the concrete. There was a faint outline where it once stood, and scratched into the ground. Shift taken. My phone buzzed again. A news alert. Local gas station employee missing. The photo beneath the headline made my blood run cold. It was the man who had walked into the store at 2:59 a.m. Reported missing in 2003. Exactly at 3 a.m. I slowly turned back toward the station. The neon sign above flickered. For a split second, the station name changed. It read, "Open until 3 a.m." But I knew the truth now. It doesn't close at 3. It feeds at 3. And tomorrow night, I'm scheduled again.